First of all, I should probably apologize that it's been so long. I wish I had some great excuse. But the truth of the matter is, I've just been moving a lot and it's been hard for me to get my studio back together. And once I did, I didn't like the sound and I took forever making another video. And uh, anyway, we stand here today. Uh, it seems like an appropriate time for me to start talking again, come out of retirement, as it were, at a time when we are probably facing one of the most difficult challenges the entire world has had in a very long time. Uh, a lot of people these days have never seen anything like this. It's been a long time since World War II and World War I, the Great Depression, the polio outbreak. No one of this generation has probably seen anything that has affected the world on quite so global a scale. And it's just the way it is. I know a lot of us are going through rough times. I lost a member of my extended family already due to the COVID-19 disease, sickness, whatever you want to call it. Um, so I know very much just how serious this is and how much it is affecting everyone. We're all feeling it one way or the other, if for no other reason than the fact that we can't leave our houses or can't leave them very much. But I do feel there's a few things that we need to think about. I know we're scared. We're all scared. I'm scared. I may not quite technically be old enough to be in what is considered the high risk group, but we also know that this can affect just about anybody to some extent or the other. And it has killed some people who were remarkably young. And even if it doesn't, or hasn't rather, members of our family, our parents, our grandparents, people we just know. A friend of mine's father died just a few weeks ago, also due to the coronavirus. It's a very sobering time for us. And there's a lot of different ways we can take this. We can very easily go kind of negatively down the rabbit hole and think about all the horrible things that this could cause. But I think there are more constructive ways of looking at it. Even when bad things happen, even when horrible things happen, which I know perhaps the present generation has never hit in quite this way, we haven't had something that changes our way of life so drastically, and we could come out of this with a very different way of life. We just don't know. But I don't think that's what we should think about, or rather, that's not what we should focus on, concentrate on. I think when we really think about this, we should think about when all this first happened, when we were all first being locked down and we were being shoved into our houses and told how dangerous things were on the streets and how we all needed a quarantine. I think we should think about who the first person was that we contacted. Who all we contacted that first day, the second day, the third day. Calling our parents, calling our friends, calling people maybe we haven't seen in years. Think about the people we didn't call. The people we thought about but just didn't call for whatever reason, either because we couldn't, because we're estranged from them in some ways, or because it was simply impossible, or because we just weren't sure if they wanted to hear from us or not. But thinking about those people that really matter in our lives, when something like this happens is incredibly important, because I think what a lot of us do fall into is that just normal life. We go about our daily routines, we're doing everything. We always know that there's always going to be another day, there's always going to be another tomorrow. We're always going to see everyone again. And I think these moments where we realize we might not is incredibly important, because we come to realize the people that really mean something in our lives. As you are stuck in your house quarantined, or not, if you happen to be one of those people who's essential, I want you to think about what you are doing. Think about how you pass the time. Think about how you suddenly completely restructure all of your priorities. What really matters to you in life? What matters in your house? What of your stuff do you really care about? What of your life do you really care about? What would happen if suddenly you had to leave it all behind? What would you take? As you're sitting there, quarantined, unable to go anywhere, and suddenly your mind is forced into focusing on you and your life and the people you're with, whomever that might be. If it's anyone, if you're quarantined alone, this is probably pretty difficult for you. Think about the hobbies that you've taken up in the last few weeks. The things that suddenly, having nothing else to do, you've concentrated on. Some of those may be the more important things. Just like those people that you called in the very beginning, the people that you immediately texted or emailed, or however you decided to contact them. Maybe those people are the most important people in your life and you just haven't been thinking about it this whole time. Maybe those hobbies that you're suddenly pursuing that you didn't normally pursue are actually your passions. Just sit back and think about that for a minute. Because at the end of the day, I think every single one of us has this huge line of priorities that we think are our priorities. And there's always a difference between actual priorities and perceived priorities. And right now, we are seeing those official priorities, those real priorities. No, we can't go out to eat anytime we want, wherever we want. Suddenly we're having to eat what's in the house. Suddenly we're having to cook, or maybe order out to whatever restaurants are still open. We're having to get back down to the basics of what our true priorities are. Not simply what we have when everything is possible, which, let's face it, is to a large extent what we've had for a very long time, especially here in the United States, and I'm sure many other areas of the world. We've gotten very complacent. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That's simply the way things are. But right now, at these moments where things seem the most dire and things seem the most dark, we can take a long, deep look into ourselves and think about who we really are, what we really need, what the real priorities are, who the people are we really, really care about, and maybe most importantly, who each and every one of us really is. I have to think about that. As I suddenly think about the possibilities of losing people who are dear to me, parts of my family, people I only somewhat know, as I think about what I'm doing here in this house where I'm somewhat sequestered, each and every one of us, I think, has a lot of soul searching to do, and that's not a bad thing. Sometimes, and I'm not, obviously this is a terrible, horrible thing, and the loss of life is horrible, but sometimes we also do need these wake-up calls. We need to remember. We need something so earth-shattering that we realize what is really genuinely important in life. And as we look at things like the canals in France, the Seine River, clearing up, as humans have nothing to do with it. As boats aren't going and planes aren't going and the environment is not being polluted to the extent that it normally is, we are getting a little window into what could be, what might be. And when we come out of this, we could come out of this stronger and better than ever before. Or at the very least, just for us average people, just living life, we get to see what life could be, what is important about life, what our true priorities are, and what we really want. You may find out that that job you've been working for 20 years that you just lost is kind of crap. Some of you are probably suddenly having to take on jobs you never thought you'd do just because you lost what you were doing and you had to get something now. You had to pay the rent. You had to be able to buy food. You needed the basic essentials, and you did what was necessary because we're all doing what is necessary. That might let us know sometimes what we really want to do with life and what we really don't want to do with life. But whatever that is, that's a certain kind of truth. It's a certain kind of clarity that we only experience when our backs are really against the wall. And my friends, our backs are against the wall right now. And I would like to think that at the end of this, every single one of us, all of my friends watching this video, all of the people who will hopefully watch this video later, will come to realize what really is important in life. Because there's nothing like death to make us understand life. This is the Urban Omnist, and I am very glad to be back. I'll see you guys on the next one.